Hi everyone, welcome to the Get Real show. We have now taken it outside and we are here with Drez. Thank you so much for coming, and just wanted to have you on here and talk about mindset and really where you've come from and where you've gotten to today. I think your mindset is extremely impressive, and for me personally, I feel like mental health is all about mindset and just making sure that you're taking care of yourself and have the motivation every day to wake up and continue to try to make something of yourself. So I couldn't think of a more applicable person to have on to discuss this topic. So thanks for coming, and why don't you introduce yourself?
Of course. Thank you very much for having me on. It's been a long time coming. We've definitely had a lot of conversations about it, but yeah. My name's Andres Antonio, originally from London, but I was born in South America. But yeah, no, definitely a great point to mention about coming on the show. Obviously, we both have similar mindsets, and I think it's definitely an interesting topic to discuss. And the reason I wanted to start off with a bit more of my background, just because that leads to a lot of the reason around who I am today, why I do what I do today, and why have the mindset that I have today. So just jump straight into it. So I'm from a country called Venezuela in South America. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. It is right now probably one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Lots of violence, lots of crime. It's run by a dictator who is basically running all the elections. No one has any say. Very, very bad place. And it was actually it's a beautiful country. Lovely, beautiful country. But, it was a very rich country. If you look into the history, very rich in oils and whatnot, but it was just governed really bad. So, and the reason I say this is because my mum had to grow up in that. So it was my mum. She had 9 other siblings, but 2 were like direct brother or sister, if you could say. But she had a hard upbringing, walking to school every day, miles, for example, growing up in terrible conditions in a shack house. And it was tough for her, like we grow up and we've got privileges of having a proper roof over our heads and so on. And she went through a lot of shit. It gets really deep as well. She had like bad parenting around her and, was like, for example, molested as a child, which is like really, really, fucked up shit, right? But it made her the woman she is today. And she told me out of confidence once, just to kind of say, hey, look, Andrews, this is where I've come from, by the way, like, just so you know. And that's only the beginning, right? She had all these ambitions. She wanted to be, and like an engineer for aeroplanes and stuff like that. So she had massive ambitions. She met someone. She knew that she was having me. That person didn't want to be involved, who's my biological dad. And she was like, no, like, from that moment onwards, she knew she had to do everything for me. So she went to an island called Margarita. Cool name. But I was born on that island, and then from that day onwards, she like made me her only priority. So knowing that she went through all of that, she then migrated over to UK, where we had some family. My uncle was living there, and that was hard. That was hard for her. I was a baby. I didn't have to see anything, but now that I'm more grown up, she tells me from time to time, and I bet she keeps a lot from me as well. But we used to live in a tiny apartment in Islington, which is kind of a rough area, I think I don't know what it's like now, but I think it was a rough area. And she was a cleaner. She didn't know English, so that was tough in itself. So just knowing that my mum had to go through that is kind of like almost like a wake-up call. Now, my upbringing, we didn't have loads of money. We were, my parents split up, so my mum had met someone who was originally Spanish, and growing up, I thought he was my real dad, which is pretty crazy as well. Got to the age of about 10, they split up, and then I found out he wasn't my dad, so that was crazy as well. And when you're the age of 10, like, you don't really understand what those kind of things are like, or what it means.
Yeah.
So figuring that out was just like a big what the hell's going on. And I went on a tangent, and as a teenager I was a pretty stupid teenager, as we probably all are, but I made a lot of silly mistakes. But even throughout that period, that was a tough period, you know. We didn't have loads of money. I remember going into school with like holes in my shoes, and it wasn't fun. I still made the most out of it. Like, I'd love to go back, you know, because you miss the school days, like carefree days, even though it was pretty tough. You know, I still miss the school days. But and the reason I mention all of this stuff is because all that adversity, all the pain, there's almost a lot of pain that you mask, right? But it's the building blocks, you know. And that's like a combination of what my mum went through, what I went through, all the stupid mistakes that I did has now made me such a wiser person today, and I'm grateful for everything. You know, I'm glad I went through all of that. I'm glad I didn't have it easy, because it makes me feel grateful for everything I have now, you know. So yeah, moving the transition from school to work was tough. I left school at the age of 16, went into work, started at a company. I remember I was told by one of the managers, because, you know, when you're working, you try and make work fun, and we were sitting at a desk, and I had a very admin focused, not very commission rewarding job. So it was like very repetitive, and, you know, it gets boring, but you want to make it fun. You don't want to be in a militant environment all the time, right? And I remember I was like rapping and joking with, you know, some of my colleagues, and one of the managers come by and had heard that I was rapping, and he then took me out of the team and told me I wouldn't be a recruiter and put me into an admin focused role. Now, there's nothing against admin roles. Like, you know, if you're in an admin role, like, that's completely your choice. But for me, like, I didn't personally want to be in that kind of position, doing repetitive tasks every day. Like, I knew I had more meaning to what I was supposed to be doing, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So that point onwards, I was like, I stayed 1 more month, left, found another job in the city. So I had to commute on the train into London every day, which was all right. You get used to it. And they promised me the world, but I didn't really see the fruits of my hard work. You know, I was working hard. I knew I was a hard worker. I knew I had that dog in me, you know. I knew I had that.
Yeah.
And but I didn't feel fulfilled. So after that, I you know, started looking again. I was quite lucky. The first interview I had was Interex, and you know, with the CEO Jamie, and like from that discussion, like you can sense other people's energies and so on. But from that interview, I knew instantly. I was like, I want to work for this guy. Didn't care about the size. Didn't care. I was bought into him. You know, a lot of people. Like, I remember people that were interviewing, that I'd got interviews when we were really small, were like, the company's not big, like all this and all that, and I'm just like what kind of, like, and now look where we are, you know, like complaining about the size of the company, but not looking at what value it can bring you, right? And I didn't really understand. I was just bought into how passionate he was. I didn't know that it was going to be this big, like, you know, 100+ recruitment size company in X amount of time. I was just bought into the vision he was selling me, right? I'm going to do this, I'm going to teach you this, and so on and so on. So started there, and it weren't easy. Recruitment's not an easy game, and you know this as well. And that's why it kind of relates to the mindset thing, is like, there's been so many downfalls, and that's just how recruitment is there's been so many downfalls, that it builds up the mindset, that it fortifies and strengthens your mind, and it builds those layers of skin that can just get through anything, essentially. There's now a lot of stressful things that happen day in, day out. Some things annoy me more than other things, but I know how to kind of just war through it in a way, and accept that it is what it is. And you can only really control the controllables at the end of the day, and you need to learn that anything outside of your control, you can't really be annoyed about. And if you do mess up, learn from your mistake and don't do it again, or try not to do it again. You're probably going to have 1 or 2 of the same mistakes, but 3 times, okay, you're just an idiot. But yeah, so the transition from starting at Interex, didn't have a clue about anything recruitment at that kind of agency level. It was more just like admin, ad hoc focused. where this was like really go-getting recruitment, go-getting sales. This was, you had to go and pitch someone, you had to go and convince someone to be bought into your services and what you're offering and buy something from you, which is not easy. All the processes that come with it, it's tough. So, and yeah, I mean, putting recruitment to one side, if your life isn't balanced outside of your work, then your work is affected as well. And what I mean by that, if you're going out partying every weekend, which I was a massive culprit for, then it's going to affect your work. If your gym's not right or if your eating's not right, it's going to affect your work. And I didn't know this. I went through a lot of different stages. So I was in a relationship and I gained quite a lot of relationship weight because, you know, you just eat loads of snacks and watch films and whatnot. And I put on a load of weight. But I didn't realise it. I didn't realise it was a problem at the time, but it probably affected my performance, you know. Made me probably a little bit lazier than a lot lazier than what I am now, you know. So yeah, just talking about different phases, right? Had a lot of ups, had a lot of downs, had a lot of things outside of my personal life that affected it. And you know, one thing with me is I had a lot of successful months. And let's say 3 months really flying, doing great, and then I'll just slip into bad habits again, go out partying, ruin myself, and then for the rest of the year do really shit. And that probably happened 3 years in a row. And at the end of last year, I was like, no, I'm not doing that again. I was like, I cannot do another year of the same rubbish again. Starting the year super strong, letting myself down, being inconsistent, you know, not respecting what I've told myself, you know, not respecting what I've set out to do, you know, no loyalty to myself, right? Putting others first, not myself first, right? So, yeah, after I realised that and thought I need to make a big change here. I don't know what is yet. I don't know, like, what I'm going to do, but I can't do the same thing again. So I was in the changing room and Sam, who you had on the last podcast, was all sitting there talking about the New York office, and Sam was like, you know, would you ever go New York? And I sat there, and at first I think my reaction was like, no, I wouldn't go to New York, because I've been asked to move abroad before. And then I sat there and thought about it, and I was like, actually, hang on a minute, why not? Why not go to New York? Why not move away from everything? Why not completely change my environment to make sure that I can perform at the best of my ability, right? So it was an idea at first. I then, you know, messaged the CEO. I was like, hey, look, I'm serious. He was like, are you serious though? I was like, I'm serious. Started getting all the paperwork done, went and done my interview at the embassy, and then boom, before you know it, I've got my visa. And I'm now on a flight to New York. I landed on New Year's Day. That was an interesting one, you know, leaving all my family and my friends. It's sad. The first 3 months was tough. Yeah. You, like, complete new environment. You don't know anyone. You're settling into the Big Apple. It was really tough. And I'm glad I went through it again. Like, I'm glad I went through it all, because it's made me the person I am today. And I think after the 3 months, once I started to get settled in and being comfortable with myself and learning all these new responsibilities and habits that I have, you know, I didn't live by myself before moving out and moving to New York. I had to do my own cooking, my own cleaning. I wasn't used to any of that. I didn't have a clue how to use the washing machine. You know, I just about got the dishes in the dishwasher, you know. So, yeah, I think I'm glad I went through the change of environment. It's made me the person who I am today. It's made me into a completely different animal. I'm very dialed in. I'm very focused. I've had a lot of fun. You know, it's in moderation now, and you know that's the journey I've had to go through. So, you know, going back to the point of what I say about my mum, knowing that she had to go through all of that, and knowing that I could change my life to make her happy, to now provide for her, that's my purpose. That's the mindset push. That's the mindset motivation that's what gets me up in the morning, knowing that I can make my mum happy, because that is the only thing I should be doing, is providing for my mother and for my family, you know. And if you can't provide for your mum, or you're not giving back to your parents, the parents that gave you everything, your mother who gave you birth, who gave you life, then I feel like you've got your priorities wrong. Personally. That's the first thing that I think should be on everyone's mind, is how can I repay back my mother? And it might not, you know, it might not have to be materialistic things or money, but you just doing well, you on the right path, is probably the biggest present that your mum could ever have. Your mum knowing that you're in a good place, that you're healthy, that you're going in the right direction is a good enough gift. Anything else is great, and continuously ensuring that they're happy is as long as they live on this earth is personally my motivation. So yeah, that's the big old journey from Venezuela to the UK to the Big Apple, and now really just seeing what happens, seeing what happens as it goes along. Don't really know where I'm going yet with it, but I'm just at the minute just working as hard as I can, constantly trying to incrementally grow, whether that's in the gym, whether that is at work, constantly being conscious about, am I being better than I was last week? You know, am I improving? I think that's the most important thing, and that is literally the purpose of life. The purpose of life is to continuously grow and get better. So, yeah, that's my story. That's where I've come from. And it's funny, we're talking about mental health as well. Throughout a lot of that, mental health was obviously like it's a touchy topic. It's a difficult topic, right? And a lot of the time, some people can manage it a lot better than others. For me, I had a few breaking points, a few very, very low points. Never ever at a point where I've been suicidal, but there'd been a few points throughout all those challenges that I've faced. And I'm glad I went through them. I'm glad I was at the lowest point, because now I know how my mind works. And I know if I'm ever feeling down, it's just a phase. It's just a moment. It's okay to feel like that. Talk to someone though, you know, express your feelings, go for a walk. You know, keep your mind running on other thoughts. You know, don't stay stuck on the same thought. So yeah, throughout that process, or throughout a lot of my life, there's been a lot of low points, and learning how to overcome them has definitely been a game changer for me, because that also then loops back into the mindset. You know, all the adversity you get every day, all the stress you get every day, you know, it's kind of linked to having mental health issues, right? As long as you can overcome it, as long as you know how to handle it, through the experience that you've had, I think you're set to avoid any bad situations in future. See what I mean?
100%. Well, your story is absolutely incredible. It really, really, truly is. And just for reference too, so everyone knows, can you say how old you are as well?
Oh yeah, so I'm 25, just turned, yeah.
And you're a VP at a company as well.
Yeah.
Like, that is just absolutely incredible, where you've come from to where you are today, and that is no easy feat. And just as you said, the job that we work and what you have to do every day is so incredibly impressive, that you're able to come in and day out and be able to handle the objections. And I think it really just sets you up for life, and being able to sell the way you do, and now you're on TikTok showing everybody how you do it, really does set you up for real life circumstances. If you can handle the negativity that sometimes comes from the other end of the phone, and being able to handle the no's again and again and again and again for that one yes, is really just the perfect metaphor for life. Like, if you're able to be knocked down a certain amount of times and come back up, there's really nothing you can't do. And I think that why certain people do so well in sales or in their jobs and occupations is people that have faced adversity and are people that have had to face those no's or negativity throughout their own personal lives, and then when they come into a controlled environment, essentially like an office, they can just channel that. And I think it's an absolute honor to get to watch you do that all the time and learn from yourself. But to have a bit more background, I've known part of your story, but to have that full breadth of background on where you've come from is absolutely incredible. And I do think it ties directly into mental health. And I have a very different stance on mental health, where I've said it before on here. A lot of people, I think that mental health is like, oh, kumbaya, let's go to yoga and let's do less and that will help me. But for myself personally, and I'm sure you could agree based off of the way you operate, for me, mental health is living to my fullest potential. I do not feel mentally healthy when I'm not doing everything in my power to become better, to feel like I'm living life to the fullest and actually having fulfillment and feeling like I'm getting better every day. When I start to feel, because mental health isn't a linear journey and there are ups and downs, and when I start to feel down is when I feel like I'm not doing everything I can, or I feel like I'm slacking in some capacity. So that's a very different stance, I think, to a lot of other people's perception of mental health. I do think obviously you need rest and obviously you need to look after yourself, but I feel like mental health is giving it everything you have and taking care of yourself in a way that taking care of myself is making sure that I'm reaching my potential.
100%. Yeah, I mean, when people do talk about mental health as well, there is kind of like a negative perception of it. Like, people think mental health, oh, he's got mental health, but really is just how you carry yourself mentally, right? That is what it is. But when on the face of it, people say mental health, oh, you know, people having issues mentally, but a lot of the time, and okay, I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of the time, a lot of the mental problems that you have can easily be resolved. I say easily. Let's take that with a pinch of salt. It can be resolved.
Yes.
It just takes yourself to get you out of there and the help of others around you.
Yes.
And to realise that you may need help. You know, there's no issue in asking someone to have a chat or to, you know, to see what options you've got, or to ask them to help you, right? In any way, right? Even yourself. I feel like sometimes you do even, like, you need to be at the lowest point for
100%.
For you to realise the change that you need to make. I feel like sometimes if you don't go through that, and we've spoken about this already, right? But if you don't go through that adversity, that pain, there's no wake up call. Yes. There's no click in your brain to say, yes, let's change. I want to change. I want to change my life. You know. So I feel like typically, like, and then back to that point that you mentioned about giving everything 100%. Once you can unlock that in your brain, that every single day you can literally give 110% to everything you do, within moderation, right? You don't want to burn out either. I think as long as you can ensure that you are balancing your life and giving 110%, then, like you said, you can achieve absolutely anything you want. So, no, that's super interesting. And back like over to you. I know, you know, this isn't a podcast with Andres, but obviously you posted a really inspiring story today on the LinkedIn. Do you want to just let us know a little bit more about that, or just the surface of it, of like the journey? I think maybe you might have already spoken about it, but it's Mental Health Day.
It is.
So it makes sense.
It was World Mental Health Day. 100%. So yeah, a lot of, like, my main motivation comes from my darkest days.
Sure.
And I'm very curious as to if you believe this as well, but I do think that certain people are just born with an extra drive. So I do feel like I was born with that, but then it is 90% environmental. Like, how did you grow up? What adversity have you faced? And then what do you do with that? I think that your story, my story, several others, most people that are successful, I would say the majority, their lives could have gone drastically different. I think when you go through certain things and when you're at a certain rock bottom or a certain crossroads, is when you can decide, am I going to use this as fuel to my fire to get myself exactly where I want to be, to get myself beyond what my imagination can even comprehend, or am I going to use this to be a victim of the world and carry on with victim mentality as someone having the world happen to them? Like, I believe, as I said in what I wrote today, I create my reality. And what I action is what happens to myself and what happens to the world around me. That I'm not somebody that is taking what the world is doing as something happening negatively to me, or becoming a victim of circumstance, or becoming a victim to anybody, because I think there were a lot of circumstances in my life where I could sit there and say that I was a victim in a certain circumstance, and instead I've decided to take the power from that situation and say, I'm glad it happens, because it wakes up just extra layers of motivation. And that's where I feel on a lot of that. But basically my background,
And sorry, just on that point, I know you mentioned there's a lot of times that people's lives could have been drastically different. That's such a good point, because looking about it now, I think the first time I was ever heartbroken, right, I was in the lowest place of my life, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. Their first heartbreak is probably one of the most depressing things ever in the whole wide world. And an interesting story, it was probably about a month that it affected me, where I wasn't eating properly, I wasn't going gym, I lost so much weight, I was so upset, I was like going home and crying and all that shit. And I had one or two options. I remember the CEO sat me down, because I was going into work. I wasn't calling anyone. I was sitting in there shaking my leg all day, waiting for the day to be finished so I could go home and cry in my bed again. And that kind of adversity, it was go hard or go home. That was it. You're gonna be done. He was like, he put me on don't know what it's called. It's like a warning. What was it?
Performance plan.
Maybe not even a performance plan. It was just like maybe just a warning.
Probation.
I think it was not even that. It was just like, I don't know what the word is. I think it's like a British term. I'll be honest. But he put me on the warning. He was like, if things do not change, like I could tell he didn't want me to, go. But like at the end of the day, business is business, right? Can't just be paying someone's wage for them not to be performing or doing anything. And that's what I was doing at the time. Nothing, literally nothing. But it was because I was so mentally wrapped up in this issue, it overtook my life. The worst thing ever. And then he was like, and then that wake-up call. So everyone's going to get a wake-up call at one point, right? Talking about this, how everyone's life could have been drastically different. That one point, you decide from that point onwards, is it make or break now, right? And he told me, you're going to lose your job if you don't get shit back together. Get your fucking shit together and get back into it. And then from that point onwards, I feel like it did start getting easier. And back over to your point as well, I used all that anger, that rage, that sadness to just absolutely smash it. And well, obviously I'm still here, so I must have done something right. But yeah, that was a big challenge. I think another challenge for me, I didn't really understand things, and I wasn't as mentally aware, was when I was 10 years old, and I said this, right, when my parents split up, and I thought that my dad was my real dad. I still call him my dad to this day. He raised me up, but figuring that he was with another woman, he wasn't cheating, he just moved on, right? But yeah. I then found that out, and I was just in bits. I remember that was like, I was so confused, and I guess you don't really process it that much at that age, but then it does affect you, right? And that's why I think I was such a little shit in school. I was such a naughty kid throughout my teenage years, and obviously the other environment about not growing up in like the most fanciest things and so on, and didn't have obviously like a lot of money, right? But I grew up in a rich area, so when you're done.
Helicopter landing,
Thank-
you know.
Yeah, thanks
New
for the
York.
helicopter. I was in the motion then. All right, brilliant. All right, back to the story. So at that age, you don't really understand things, right? And but going back over to the environmental thing, like growing up across all that adversity and so on. I've gone on a bit of a tangent here, but what was you saying? I know you was about to go on a bit of a background about mental health and so on, and where you've come from and how far you've grown as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've covered most of my story on here. But yeah, I had multiple
So I don't
years.
actually know a lot of it.
Yeah.
You've never told me this,
Yeah.
so it's my first time.
Boy.
You can keep it brief. You don't have to go into
Yeah,
a lot of
so basically for myself, I struggled with several eating disorders throughout my teenage years. It really started...
What is that like? What do you mean, like eating disorders? Like, just sorry if you don't
No,
mind.
no. So it's initially started with, I mean, I guess I'll start a bit more from the beginning. So I grew up in a household where both my parents came from extreme adversity, a lot of family issues, grew up in a very poor area of Philadelphia, and then I was able to grow up in better circumstance, but I'm glad that I have had, it seems very similar to yours, parents that came from extreme adversity to really nail hard work into you and all of that. And then growing up, I feel like I just always felt a little bit like I didn't fit in 100%. There were just, I think, underlying themes. I felt maybe inadequate in several ways, even though I would get good grades in school and I started to do well in sports, and there was no real reason for me to feel such inadequacy. But I did always just feel like almost I was watching, it felt to me like other people lived so naturally and it didn't feel as natural for me. So I do feel like I definitely had some internal struggles from the start, and then definitely faced, I became a runner and was fairly good at running at one point, and I just still felt like I was never living up to my full potential. I was running with absolutely insane athletes and keeping up with them in workouts and track workouts and tempo runs and all of that, and then it would come race day and I had crippling anxiety to the point where I was never able to perform. My muscles would lock up. I was not mentally tough in the races. Like it would just all come to shambles over how much pressure I put on myself and how intensely I would just fear not doing well, that I would end up not doing well. And then it came to a point where I went into a cross country season and I was not where I really had meant what was supposed to be. And it was a mixture of multiple different things, but I started to lose weight and to help with my running, and there was some emotional abuse that went along with it, that I was very much pushed into a situation where I felt like I had to lose more and more and more weight. So then I eventually got obsessed with it and locked into it, because I do think that I had these underlying issues and feelings that it was so easy to fall into being obsessed with this, because this was something that I could control for once. And that's where a lot of eating disorders stem from. It's like you get this sense of control that it doesn't matter that I couldn't control my childhood. I couldn't control certain things that happened to me, these feelings inside of me, but I can control this. Then it goes into that. So I became anorexic at first. So extreme restriction and over exercising, off of no fuel, zero. Like today I'm into extreme endurance sports and I love that, but it was more from a place of self-hatred. So I have to do this because I had one extra friggin' salad leave is what it turns into eventually. So it started with that, and then I actually became bulimic from there, which is when you make yourself throw up, because it got to the place where for so long I was in such extreme control, and one single time, and you place your whole life basically into this disorder, and
Wow.
one time it just becomes too much where you lose control one single time, and then it feels like in the moment, if I have to describe the feeling, it feels like either I'm going to die or I'm going to participate in this unhealthy behavior. So
The wake up call.
This point I'm saying it's
Make or break.
when you're
Oh, no.
when you fall into bulimia from anorexia.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So
yeah.
then that's really how that starts, and you start to justify it in your head, go down that path. So
Cool.
then I was very much participating in that, and then towards the tail end of the journey, it was like binge eating and bulimia, because then it just feels like it was all for nothing. You lose control, you end up in extreme guilt, and then participate in that unhealthy behavior again. So it was really the full string of eating disorders I got to experience, and all the while I am extremely heavy drinking to really escape the pain of the disorders, escape the pain of my entire life. I also grew up very much, I couldn't have real conversations with people, which is so ironic today, because my favorite thing to do at work is to pitch and talk to people. My favorite thing to do outside of work is to create relationships with people and to podcast, and obviously now have no problem saying everything about my life. But back, I never could really fully communicate with people. So I grew up in a place where I felt uncomfortable having conversations, so naturally you start to drink, and then you can converse with people. You can converse with people you like, people you admire, people that you think are cool, boys. It just becomes that liquid confidence, because I had no confidence. I had no true confidence in myself. And then once I fell into the eating disorders, then it was also an escape from thinking about that 24/7. So that's really where it started. And then one addiction led to another. I was really locked into alcoholism, got some other addictions along the way. And it was just escapism on all fronts, because at the end of the day, that's what eating disorder is as well, is escapism from not having to face yourself and face your own problems. You use it as another escapism tactic. So that's a lot of what I experienced.
Interesting. No, I was just going to say a thing about the confidence as well. I've experienced something similar. Obviously, as a boy, as a lad, right? And it was a big part of this year as well, right? Is my confidence, social confidence, which I think a lot of people maybe lack. A lot of people don't. You see a lot of these influencers that will post videos of them going up to a boy or going up to a girl and so on. And I feel like a lot of that is lacked in nowadays society. I feel like nowadays society that it should be fine to just go and say hello to a random person, obviously with good intentions. If you've got bad intentions, then no. But with good intentions, if you like the way someone looks, even just complimenting them. And for me, even in the past few years, I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone. I say anyone, girls. We're trying to hit on girls or whatnot.
Yeah.
I could only do it if I was drunk.
Yeah.
Or if intoxicated. That I could only do it if I was drunk. And that mindset was awful, because I remember. And then obviously relocating to the US, New York, going through the first 3 months thinking, I was so scared because my accent, not a lot of people could understand. So I was even scared just to ask for simple things like, be at the shop, can I have this, can I have that? And then I was mentally aware of it, which is good. I was like, right, I need to do something about this. I can't just be scared to say simple things. How am I going to get by life if I can't even move to New York and overcome these kind of things. And it just comes to, and I think a little bit is like, you know, the fact that fear is an illusion, fear of rejection. No one's going to reject you, you know. The confidence is what people respect. And if you are confident and polite and you overcome the fear of talking to people, like, and it comes with experience, right? You're going to have to ask. It's the same with sales, right? The more you call, the more rejection you get, the more confident you're going to get, because you already faced the worst of it, the brunt of it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's an interesting topic, because I felt like that a lot for a lot of this year, and
yeah.
For me, what started working was just started complimenting people, started complimenting, you know, anyone like down the street. Oh, nice dog. Oh, you look nice. Da da da, and so on. And that built up so much confidence. That really, really helped me. Just going for it. Just saying, all right, just go for it. That really helped me to overcome those fears. And now I genuinely do feel confident in myself. But it's a lot of factors play into that. You need to be balanced. It goes back to what I said. Your life needs to be balanced. You need to be eating well. You can have a cheat day here or there.
100%.
You need to be training at least 3 times a week. At least some sort of exercise to mentally prepare yourself for whatever's going on in the week. You need to be social. You need to speak to friends. You need to meet friends. You need to make new friends. You need to network, right? And I feel like having your life balanced, feeling that you're making progress, is only going to give you that confidence. And if you want to start developing in being more confident in public and meeting new people and speaking to new people and just even holding conversations, you just need to get out there. You need to make sure your life's balanced in all other areas and put yourself in the best position possible to be approachable to other people. Do you get what I mean?
Yes,
so
definitely.
that was an interesting point that you mentioned. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, I think the unfortunate truth of it is that most people feel that they can't talk to people unless they're intoxicated, especially when talking to guys and girls, or whoever you're attracted to in today's world, because especially I think it's gotten worse with social media, because I started going out when I was quite young, where I was speaking to sneaking into bars and all of that. And
who hadn't done it?
And back then, even, it was a different culture where I think people spoke to people more, where now I think COVID was rough, and then now that social media and TikTok and Instagram, people really do struggle to communicate. So now it's, I think, an even more so growing issue that a lot of people can't talk to people unless they're intoxicated or put themselves out there or feel vulnerable is the main thing. Like, that was my main issue, is that I couldn't be vulnerable or formulate connection or relationship with anybody unless I was feeling this liquid confidence.
Or it's just too digital, like what you said, like
100%.
Going back to TikTok, and a lot of people meet online. I don't know how people do it. Honestly, like how you make a connection online. Fair enough, you know, fair play if you do and you meet them and you stay together and so long, but everyone's so glued to technology. Even me, I'm a massive culprit of it. Like, I'm glued to my phone all day long, and like, fuck, like, you know?
Yeah.
The social media aspect as well is like, what you said, everything's changed so much. Like, everything now is so digital. There is no physical connection. It's all just, you know, and even like, sometimes you know, you text, your mates is different, but if you're trying to text someone online, it's just like, mind-boggling. It's like, what is going on? I don't even know what to say. Oh, hi, how are you? Da, da, da. It's just dull. Maybe there might be someone. Maybe I've just not found the right person yet.
Yeah.
But I just feel like meeting someone in person, in comparison to trying to find someone online, complete different ball game. You know instantly if you've got a connection with someone if you meet them in person. And it doesn't have to be at a bar, you know. And that goes back to my point, is like, if you do, I feel like, want to meet someone that is genuine and so on, and you actually got a connection with, like, probably the best place isn't at a bar, at a night out, or at a festival, or a rave, or whatever. It's probably, I don't know, doing something like that doesn't involve partying, maybe, you know, or I don't know, going to I don't know, I'm just saying library or gym or going for a walk, you know, and then having that confidence. You see someone you like, you lock eyes with them, you know, if you both lock eyes, you both know that there's something on, just go talk to her. Just go say hello. So yeah, I think the connection is better in person. But then yeah, it loops back down to the confidence part.
Yeah. And I think connection too plays such a role in mental health, is that when you don't have connection and relationships with people is when your mental health can severely suffer. So that is a huge part of it, as well as ensuring that you do value relationships, whether it be calling your mom or talking to your mates and your friends and family. That is such a massive part of making sure you stay mentally healthy, because it's one thing to stay locked in and focus on yourself, which you 100% also have to do, but it's finding a balance of the two of them.
It can be lonely, can be very lonely.
Yeah.
This year was a very lonely year when I was dialing in, and it was good because I was like, I'm dialed in, but mentally that was what the challenge of it. And that's why I think I don't know, I just like this year felt like I wanted to be liked or be in some sort of connection, like what you said, and it ties in massively to mental health because it affected me loads. But I put a smile on every day, and you know, obviously with all the adversity I've been through, like it would never affect me, but it would still linger in my head, you know, oh, like I wish I had some sort of connection like that. And then it loops back to the confidence. Like you can't just wish it's going to happen. You do need to do something about it. You do need to build that confidence, know that you're going to get rejected here and there, and just get yourself out there more, you know. But like you said, like human beings, we're social creatures, right? And if you don't have that, that's why you hear about all these, you know, crazy stories of like, I don't know, people that are going, you know, school shootings and stuff like that. A lot of them never really had those connections, I feel like, or some of the backstories I've looked into anyway. But and that can lead to those kind of mental health issues, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's why I go. And then one thing that I always go by: just be kind to everyone. You don't ever know what's going through on anyone's life, so you can never ever like, you know, make anyone else feel less than you, because we're all equal. Doesn't matter how much money you've got. Doesn't matter what position you are. We're all equal. We're all equal. So treat someone how you want to be treated, which is super standard stuff. Everyone's heard this. It's not hard. It is not hard. But yeah, no, interesting mention about the social aspect and how that ties into mental health, because I think that's such a massive thing that not a lot of people realise. Like, you know, if you're feeling a bit down, and this is what I say to everyone, if you're feeling down, and you hear this a lot, you know, go speak to someone, speak to a friend, speak to your mum, speak to your family, have a conversation, have those chats, you know. Say what's on your mind. It will make you feel a million times better. Bottling up is not going to help. It doesn't help anything. Saying what's on your mind, having someone give you advice is second to none. You can't beat that. 100%.
I feel like too that there are seasons of our growth that sometimes we do need to almost hibernate and focus on ourselves, while other times we may need a lot more social interaction, and really learning ourselves and learning what we need in that moment can be hard, but that's what's ultimately going to give you longevity in making sure that your life is balanced and making sure that your mental health is good for the long run, because there's always going to be dips in it, there's always going to be challenges in it. And that's why I do this, and that's why what I said in my post today, and why I find it so important to have real conversations about mental health, is that yes, there was a point where I flipped the switch and I said, I'm going to make sure that I get better and I help myself, and I went soaring and never looked back. And there's been 1,000,001 blessings in my life and situations and opportunities I've created for myself and given to myself, and that other people have given me chances that I maybe didn't deserve. And I am just so fortunate for so much positivity in my life since that day I made that decision. But on the flip side, I've had 1,000,001 hard days, and days that I've wanted to give up, and days that I don't feel like myself, and that I'm suffering with imposter syndrome, where I feel like I got lucky or fell into something even though I built it, and feel like that I'm undeserving, or I still have days I feel inadequate. But those are the times that you have to fall back and remember who I am, where I've come from, what I've overcame, and what I will continue to. And really, I say go into your internal bank. So all of those experiences where I've gone into the Grand Canyon and done an ultra marathon, or gotten through a super hard day in the office, or gotten through a horrific life situation, then I can think about that and be like, wait a second, you think you're going to give up now? Absolutely not. Think about what you've overcome and who you are, and then apply it to this situation. And the most important thing is to remember nothing is permanent. So at your height of feeling incredible, it's important to humble ourselves by knowing that
100%.
this is not permanent, and that there will be another day, another challenge to face soon. And then in those low moments to know this is not permanent either. Remember how high you felt last month? You're going to feel that again if you just stay strapped in and just feel this moment and be in the moment, but know that it's going to get better if you do work and fight it. And that's what it is in the grand scheme of things. It is just a series of fights, and you have to come back swinging if you've gotten knocked down, and just continue to make that choice to come back again and again and again.
100%. Got to show up every single day, regardless. Like, if someone asked me the other day, is like, how do you stay motivated? Like, like, how do you stay motivated? And I was just sitting there and I thought about it. I was like, God, I went on holiday a few weeks back and I was like, I've got to go back into work tomorrow. And I was like, I'm dreading this. Not because I wasn't motivated or like in general long term, but it's like, I could have done with a few more days off, you know, as everyone. It's never, the holidays are never long enough. But it's not about being or staying motivated. It's about being disciplined.
Yes.
It's about showing up every day. And an interesting video that I saw the other day is like building your willpower, right? Your willpower is only going to be built off tasks that you do as a must, your non-negotiables every single day, right? And that's the thing that's going to add to your discipline. That's going to keep allowing you to show up every single day because you have to, because it's the loyalty to yourself, right? You don't want to disrespect yourself and not achieve what you've told yourself you're going to achieve, right? Because then you start to put your mindset in a mindset where it is okay to not achieve what I'm meant to be achieving. It's okay to not go for that run, or it's okay to eat that food every single day. It's okay not to wake up and make my bed. It's okay not to give 110% today. Now, some days naturally your performance isn't going to be 100%. You do need to acknowledge that, and it is going to happen. You get ill, you know, things outside your control happen. Things inside your control are going to happen. You're going to feel shit because you went out, but you wanted to celebrate because you earned it, right? But then you are going to feel shit the next week after. But as long as you can bounce back and ensure that you get your discipline up to a certain level and you ride it out for 4, 8, 12 weeks after that, then, you know, there's no issues, and it goes back to the balance aspect. But no, massive point what you mentioned there, discipline, how you can be successful, I think, for a period of time, because I think obviously you need to reward yourself and let your hair down, is showing up every day, is doing the little tasks, is building that willpower and being disciplined, essentially.
Yeah, 100%. I think motivation comes and goes, but it's your discipline that's going to get you there in the end, and hardening your mind, essentially. I know that's a big David Goggins thing, but I feel like it genuinely works, and I've been on this path and obsessed with that type of motivation for quite some time, and I've seen that in my mind's like, I feel like today anything can happen to me, and I just do not care. I will not be knocked down. Like, I'm not saying that nothing affects me, but I'll take that lesson and I'll come back 10 times stronger. So if you don't put effort into your mindset, it's going to take effort out of you. So it's really just the choice to again, full circle, let life happen to you or have yourself happen to life and have impact on your own life and take that control back. So I think it's so important to work on that. And I know that you're doing a ton of that in your everyday life. How do you feel like that's affected you since you've started really going to the gym more and focusing and prioritizing all of this a lot more?
Honestly, it has completely changed my life, mentally, physically. I've never been more content or happy in my life right now, and I think that is crazy because I didn't think I could be at this point. To think that all it was just changing my environment and being more disciplined and moderating all the bad things that I do. You can still enjoy yourself, you can still party, you can still do whatever, you can still have fun, you can still do that. Put your priorities first and enjoy later. It's easy. No, it's hard to fuck up and mess up and not be loyal to yourself and not achieve the things that you want to do, right? But it's easy to work hard and to live the way you should be doing, if you get what I mean. They're both hard, but I'd prefer the hard of actually progressing and getting somewhere and enjoying the fruits of my hard work over not like being lazy, eating food that I shouldn't be, partying all the time, feeling shit. That's hard. That's a lot harder, I think it's a lot easier to work hard and actually get somewhere with all the discipline that you're meant to be doing and all the things that you're meant to be achieving over not doing anything, lounging around, being lazy, giving 50% every day, not going gym, not caring about your health. You're going to have a shorter life. You're going to have nothing to look forward to. Your family's not going to be necessarily proud of you. Why live that life?
Yeah.
That's just shit.
It's choose your hard now.
There you go.
To get to live a bit easier later compared to living easier now and a lot harder later.
100%.
And it's going to be hard either way. I just thought of a quote back when I used to run in grade school and high school and all of that. My dad always had a quote that was, it's going to hurt either way.
Yeah.
So what are you going to feel more proud of at the end? If you kick it into another gear or if you just race contently.
Yeah.
If you put yourself on cruise control, it's still going to hurt. The race is still going to hurt. It's never not going to. But do you want to kick it into gear and feel the benefits of what you just did afterwards? That's what I would choose
100%.
Time and again. And now there's a lot of things about, it's called type 2 fun, where I think it's type 2 fun.
What is that?
And
never heard of that.
So it is, so going for a run is type 2 fun.
Okay.
Like, remember when we went for that run up to the bridge and then afterwards, like, you were
amazing.
buzzing. You were like,
God.
that was fun. But maybe mile 4, 5, 6, that probably wasn't fun.
And what's crazy, before I didn't do that. I got to mile 6, I had to stop. Remember we tried running to that bridge before, and I got to mile 6, my hip, but I wasn't a runner, right? And you to do those long-term runs, you don't necessarily need to train, but you need to have, hardened layers to be able to run that kind of distance. Yeah. And I had literally stopped at mile 6. Do you remember? I think it was mile 6 or mile 5, and I was just like, I can't do this. I couldn't feel my hip.
Yeah.
Like, I physically couldn't run, and then my hip was fucked for like a few days. But then the second time, and I was still hurting. Hurting mile 7, mile 8. I think it was 9 miles, 9, 10 miles. And then, but I was just focused on the bridge.
Yeah.
I'd already been beaten once. I'd already let myself down. We got to the bridge, we walked there, but it's not really the same.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't hit the same, We was like, and we pushed even further. It was like, we're going to go to the top of the bridge. We got to the top of the bridge. It was like, we're going to go to the end of the bridge now. We're here. Let's go to the end of the bridge. We've gone this far. Let's push a little bit further, just for the sake of it, just because we can say we really did it. And that feeling, wow. And I was in pain a lot. I was not as much as the first time, but those last 3 miles, I was like, how long we got, man? How long we got, Maddie?
Yeah.
And what's crazy is, like, the last bit was the hardest bit as well. The last bit, it was all uphill. It was literally like that. It was vertical. I couldn't believe it. I was like, how many more of these have we got, Maddie? Because I don't know if I'm... But
Yeah.
obviously I did last and we
Yeah.
made it to the end. But no, that was a great one. But no, you was mentioning something. What was the point you was
About
mentioning?
the fun. So
Okay,
think
yeah.
about how much fun you had afterwards, and a lot of people were out that night. And I remember you saying, like, I'm so glad we did this. This was so fun. That's type 2 fun. And I think it's important. And the other type of fun would be, you can jump out of a plane, you get adrenaline, you get dopamine, but it doesn't require that much. Going out partying is the most typical type of simple fun, where it takes no talent or no sense of self or anything in that regard to go out partying. Anyone can take a drink. Anyone. So that would count as the other type of fun. So I think it's important to balance it, to make sure that you're proud of the majority of it. For me, I need to be proud of what I'm doing in the majority of my life. Then I can go out and enjoy a night with my friends. But I can't enjoy a night with my friends because I don't have the escapism of alcohol since I am sober.
Yeah.
I can't enjoy unless I know that I'm doing everything I can in the rest of my life. And I think that's really important. But why I love running so much is what you even were just saying was about 10 life lessons right there. The fact that all you need to do is start and get through the hard parts. And then all of a sudden you're saying, let's go further. Let's go further. And that mental health and just the base of ourselves as humans is just building on ourselves. And the more we get, the more you want to go further and further and see how far we can take that. And that's what I want to do with my entire life. And then how you said the hardest part was the end. And that's when so many people give up, is typically right before a big breakthrough, whether it be professionally, interpersonally. The hardest part is right before that breakthrough. So just stay buckled in, and you just have to almost have a certain level of delusion that it's going to get better, and then it does.
100%, 100,000,000%. The feeling that you would feel if you give up, or if you gave up just before the finish line, if you just stopped, you would feel so much worse. And look at all that time that you wasted to not achieve what you set out to achieve. That's the same with anything. Like, it's going to get hard in any journey. You're starting a business, you're trying to paint, you're trying to solve a maths question, or you're trying to, write a book. You've got this long destination. You want to ride a bike to the other side of the world, or whatever it is. Imagine you stopped halfway through and you've wasted all that time and all that effort, and now you've just got to sit with that regret. Okay, if you go and do it again, fair enough. Like, but if you actually gave up and didn't ever do it again, like, imagine how you feel. Like, that is just crazy. And it, like you said, it ties into everything. If you can go and do that, if you can go and run and get to the hardest, go for a long run and get to the hardest part right at the end when it starts to get even worse, and get through to the other side, you can do anything. You can achieve anything you want. And it reciprocates as well with work. Like, work, obviously, day in, day out, headaches, clients dropping out, candidates dropping out and whatnot, all this stuff that's going to happen that's outside of your control. But if you keep pushing, you keep dialing, you keep smiling and dialing, the next guy is going to answer, the next guy is going to sell, like, buy what you're selling and whatnot. As long as you keep pushing, at the end of it, you're going to be like, what was I even worrying about? All this good stuff's happening to me now because I didn't give up, because I kept pushing through.
And it makes the end so much more enjoyable, because I'm in the place where I'm not to that end yet or anywhere close, but to just have undeniable belief in that it has to work out. And I believe that with the universe, with whatever religion you believe in, if it's God, the universe, whatever it is, that there are certain laws of attraction. And if I put in everything I have and maximum effort, one day there will be a breakthrough. And I will never give up, because I know that through running, through different life endeavors, that right when it's the most painful and you want to give up, that's a trick. That's the devil coming for you. You better strap in further, because you're going to hit it. And most people can't endure that because they don't put effort into building this mindset.
There you go. There you go. No, honestly, no. It's just like thinking about all that hardship and just knowing that you've pushed yourself through and you've got it, and that enjoyment that you said. Like, I was so happy that I got to the end of that bridge and I actually done it. How happy was I? I was like, I'm in New Jersey now. Like, I made it. I done the bridge. I did the bridge run.
Yep.
Honestly, that feeling is second to none, and I feel like any hardship, any long journey that you go through, you make it through to the end. You know what the end is. And there's never really any end. There's just the next level.
Yeah.
Like, that's the purpose of life. That's the purpose of what human beings are meant to be doing, right?
Yep.
But once you get to the end of that big milestone, that enjoyment, like you said, is second to none.
Exactly. And how you do one thing is how you do everything.
There you go.
And for me, it's my belief that the people that will end up successful and fulfilled are people that the dream is the journey. The journey isn't to the dream. Like, building yourself is the dream. And being in it and making relationships and meeting people and being inspired and feeling the hardships, feeling the happy days, all of that is part of it. And I'm so happy that I get to be in my own journey and living my personal dream, because finding that balance is something that I think takes a lot of time, and I'm still not 100% there.
Yeah,
and I think that's the beauty in it, is that I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I have my mental health figured out 100%. I have balance figured out 100%. Absolutely not. But I'm going to continue to seek that for the rest of my life. And that's the fun part. So
there you go. Wise words of wisdom from Madeline Brady. No, I love it. It's been amazing. It's been good. It's been a great journey. And working with you as well, like being around, and that's another important thing as well. I think you need to be around like-minded people. You hear it a lot. Surround yourself with the circle that you want to be with. But being in an office, sitting across you and seeing the work that you do, it makes me, I'm being honest. Like, I'm not just saying it, like, and even obviously I sit next to Luke. Not a lot of people may know Luke, but we sit next to a guy called Luke. He's a great guy. Shout out to Luke if you're watching this. Just being around, like, we sit in a team of 3 obviously at the minute, but we're just fucking grinders, man. We just sit there and we work our ass off. We grind, and there's some bad days, there's some good days, but we fucking do what we need to do, and that's the most important thing. I think your presence, yours and Luke's presence, supports me in doing the best I can as well. And it gets a bit competitive sometimes. We get a bit competitive, and that helps. We need to see who won this week out of our little bet. I think we're even, maybe. We'll go again next week, because I'm definitely not running that 10 mile run. We'll see. We'll see. But I think that's kind of one of my last points of wisdom.
I think it's so important to be inspired by others. Like, I have unshakable belief in self at this point, that unshakable in the sense that I will never give up and I will continue believing in myself. But yes, I do have doubts on certain days. I think it's important to share, but at the end of the day, I have unshakable belief in self. But it's still so important to be inspired by others around you and take inspiration from others. And I think you're so incredibly inspiring. I think so many people, I had a very similar experience, how I am at the company because of what I heard and who I heard saying it and all of that. I just felt very cold almost to it. And I think it's quite funny. I've shared it a million times, but I heard it on a podcast on a run, and it was the exact run that we did together. And at the time, the CEO was talking about how when he started the business, it was just him and a few other guys. And he was literally speaking about you. So I went on this run listening to this podcast. And then a year and some change later, we went on that same run together. So, I think it's so important just to continue to be inspired by those around you and to be open to continue to change, continue to develop, and keep that rock hard mindset as the base.
100%. If you had to summarize then this discussion, the main points, what would you say so far?
I think you need a podcast.
Okay. Yeah. There we go.
I would say that my take from this is just never give up on yourself, never give up on life. Use your darkest days as your main motivators and to continue to develop and change with the tides, and that if you develop a strong sense of self, nothing exterior can get to you. So continue to work on that and keep on pushing, keep grinding, and you're gonna have hard days, but it's well worth it for those good ones.
100%. I think to add to that as well, from my end anyways, for anyone that's watching, don't lose respect for yourself. Don't lose loyalty for yourself. If you're going to say you're going to do something, go and do it. And learn from your mistakes. And always as well, if you need support in an area of your life, look at someone who can hold you accountable for it. That's something we're working on at the minute, just being accountable for each other and what we're setting out to do. But if you need help and you have the resources to have someone to make you accountable for whatever area you want to improve in your life, go and do it, because that's going to only improve you further. But yeah, just be loyal to yourself, be loyal to your priorities, respect yourself, and stay grinding, stay winning.
Yeah, you know? I think it's important to rely on yourself, but in the same stroke, you don't have to do it alone. And that's what I think is the most important lesson. But thank you so much for coming on.
100%.
Thank you for sharing your story. And thank you for getting real.
No, yeah, 100%. It's been an amazing podcast. My first podcast ever, I think.
First of many.
Yeah, first of many.
I can confidently say that.
No, it's been amazing. You have such a great show. You've got a great purpose. I love what you talk about on here. And it's been an absolute pleasure. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks
Brilliant.
for getting real.